Yes. Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it is true. I just was in front of a judge this morning who actually was telling the people who were in front of him, he was saying, um, the only person who makes money if you continue to fight like this is the attorneys. And that's 100% true. But one thing I frequently tell my clients when I'm advising them, I'm always going to advise them in their best interest. But if I'm advising them to settle, one thing I always say is, hey, it's not in my interest for you to settle. It's in my interest to go to trial because I make more money. But at the end of the day, I'm here to represent your interests, and settling is appropriate. So being a mediator and a parenting coordinator are basically two mechanisms that have been put in place in my jurisdiction. I mean, mediators are everywhere, but parenting coordinators, I'm not sure if they're in all jurisdictions, but they're basically two mechanisms that have been put in place by the court system and by the legislature to actually tamp down the conflict between parents, and actually give you options to resolve your case out of court.
Patrick Williams is the founding partner of Batch, Poore Williams, a family law firm in Raleigh, North Carolina that's grown into an 11-person team since he started it straight out of law school in 2006. Patrick is also a certified family mediator and parenting coordinator, and outside the firm, he built a course for new attorneys called the Firm Builder Blueprint. We get into how his team uses AI to cut serious admin time and why he thinks the courtroom is one place it will never take over. Let's dive in. Hi, welcome back to the Main Street AI Podcast. This is Stephen with Satori Coach IO, and today I'm joined by Patrick Williams of Batch, Poore Williams. Thanks for joining, Patrick.
No problem. Great to be here.
Excellent. Please, let's dive right in and give us an overview of everything you do with the firm.
Great. So my name is Patrick Williams. I am a founding partner of Batch, Poore Williams here in Raleigh, North Carolina. The primary focus area of our practice is family law. So we handle divorces, custody cases, but it kind of trickles down into domestic violence from time to time, any family-related domestic issues. We also do criminal law, some civil law, but the focus is family law. We also do child welfare law as well. Our practice has been open since I started straight out of law school in 2006, and we have about six or seven lawyers now, and four support staff, so about 11 of us now. So I would say we're still small firm size, but as far as family law firms go, we're probably in the top 3 or 4 size wise in our area of North Carolina.
Great. For somebody that isn't obviously the legal expert for your potential clientele, it's such a difficult situation when we're dealing with families going through divorce. We're dealing with, like you mentioned, domestic abuse. Kids are involved. What sort of proactive advice would you give to clients who just might not know what to do?
Well, the key thing when you're dealing with, if you're contemplating a divorce or you're in a custody battle, number one is just making sure that you're keeping track of documents, making sure you have access to financial documents within the family, because those are very important. And with regards to children, making sure you have documentation of conversations between you and the other party. I always tell my clients it's important to do communicating in writing, because when we have trials in these cases, a lot of times your version of events is very different from the other party's version of events. So it's very important to document what's going on, but more importantly as well is there are many areas of law where you can kind of get by without a lawyer. Family law, I have a lot of clients that come to me after everything has already been broken and they're like, hey, can you put this back together? And it's one of those things where at a minimum, even if you want to represent yourself and not proceed with an attorney, I think it's important to meet with one up front just so you can kind of see a lay of the land before you go forward pro se representing yourself. I think it's very important because those laws are very specific and they differ based on jurisdictions. There's a lot of time requirements you have to meet. So it's very important that you talk to someone at least.
And I saw that you're also a certified family mediator and certified parenting coordinator. So talk about that just a little bit, because I think, sometimes people may think that the attorneys are only incentivized to, go to war and they're basically looking to just try and generate as many billable hours and create as much conflict as possible. It's kind of so obviously that's not all of it, and the fact that you have those certifications kind of points in a different direction.
Yes, yeah, no, it is. I mean, it is true. I just was in front of a judge this morning who actually was telling the people who were in front of him, he was saying, um, the only person who makes money if you continue to fight like this is the attorneys. And that's 100% true. But one thing I frequently tell my clients when I'm advising them, I'm always going to advise them in their best interest. But if I'm advising them to settle, one thing I always say is, hey, it's not in my interest for you to settle. It's in my interest to go to trial because I make more money. But at the end of the day, I'm here to represent your interests, and settling is appropriate. So being a mediator and a parenting coordinator are basically two mechanisms that have been put in place in my jurisdiction. I mean, mediators are everywhere, but parenting coordinators, I'm not sure if they're in all jurisdictions, but they're basically two mechanisms that have been put in place by the court system and by the legislature to actually tamp down the conflict between parents, and actually give you options to resolve your case out of court. In North Carolina, where I am, it is difficult to get a hearing for something that's really important. Like, for example, if you aren't seeing your child and you want a child custody hearing, you're not going to get a hearing in Wake County within 90 to 120 days of filing. So imagine you get your custody order and then somebody's not filing it and you need another hearing. You're waiting another 60 to 90 days. So a parenting coordinator is basically someone who is appointed by the court to make day-to-day decisions for you in a custody case. So if you and a parent don't agree on a day-to-day decision, you can submit it to the parenting coordinator, and that parenting coordinator can make that decision. And that's just like an order from the court. So that's one way in which you save money. You're not paying this parenting coordinator as much as you're paying two lawyers. You're not waiting as long. So you get quickness and you get efficiency there. And then with mediation, same thing. Some of these cases, especially when you're dealing with custody and property settlement in a divorce, extremely complex. You have to bring in experts to value property. Those cases can take, from a trial perspective, multiple days. So mediation gives you kind of one day to where everybody's together, where you can negotiate and hopefully resolve it. And most of the property settlement cases are actually resolved in mediation. So people are saving a lot of money by handling those in mediation versus having trials.
Fantastic. I'll swing over to the AI conversation. So when we were chatting for a minute before we went live, you're a proponent of AI for the firm. How do you see AI trending right now overall? And then also, how are you currently using it yourself?
Okay. So largely, I think people are kind of figuring it out. I will say the funny thing is, I would say where I see AI the most is when I'm meeting with clients. They've already done some of their research via AI, and they're like, "Well, ChatGPT told me X, Y, and Z," and that can create a false sense of security because it's not always correct. But as far as from a lawyer perspective, I think that it really presents an opportunity for young lawyers or small law firms to compete with larger lawyers without the manpower. So personally, in our firm, we use it to do things. We use it primarily to automate administrative tasks. So we use it for billing, to check our email, generate billing logs for work that we may have done over the week. And it's very accurate at that. That saves us tons of time. We used to spend, entire Fridays. We had a block of time, I think 4 or 5 hours every Friday getting caught up on billing. And that's something on the fly that it'll generate a log at the end of the day. We use it for search engine optimization on our website. We use it to review massive financial records. Again, save it. And that saved clients a lot of money because versus us reviewing, 12 years or 3 years of bank statements, we've got AI that can summarize it and categorize what the spending is in each category. People are using it for calendaring, a lot of different emails, to draft emails. Some people we also use Fixer, that is basically an email tool that basically can auto draft replies to your email and basically categorize your emails and help you organize your email box. So we usually use it for admin tasks to cut down on time for that and to save clients money. We don't use it we don't use it blindly. And what I mean by that is, some attorneys, and we may use it for an initial draft of something, but at the end of the day, if you use it for anything that's going to be filed as a lawyer, you still have a responsibility to make sure that that is accurate and that you have a final review. So I think the more that we have legal tools that can integrate all those things into one, and make it seamless, that's where we're headed. I think is for that real tool that can handle all those admin tasks for a law firm and sync with their practice management software and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. These are common types of things that we're always talking to people about. Exactly. If you were to kind of look at how things are trending right now, where do you see this moving? So if we were to, I know no one knows for sure, but
Right.
what do you think like in 5 years out will look potentially radically different in the legal domain as a result of this technology versus what will still be pretty much the same?
Yeah. So litigation is something that I think is going to be. There's not really a place now for AI in litigation. Part of law, which I love, and which is one of the areas that I think is kind of AI proof, is that people don't like talking to AI agents for the most part. So you're going to have somebody front facing to speak with clients when they call in or to speak with potential clients. And when dealing with clients and emotional divorces, they're going to want someone they can speak to that's a human, that's emotional. So as part of the case management, there are back office admin tasks I think the AI are going to completely usurp. But as far as interfacing with clients, I don't know that will ever happen. And I can tell you right now, I can't think of a single judge that's going to want some AI agent trying to argue with them in court. So that litigation part of it, I think, will stay the same. But it's already eroded, especially in jurisdictions like ours where we have e-filing. It's already eroded many of the tasks that your legal assistant would do. It erodes, it's even encroaching on some paralegal type tasks there. But we've kind of embraced it and let our staff use it for the most part, as long as they're checking behind it. But at the same, as it gets more advanced, it's going to be, I think there's going to be less of an opportunity for support staff positions in law firms, because a lot of that stuff is going to be usurped by automation.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I'll pivot back over to your firm a little bit more. And what would you say that you do extraordinarily well at the firm that maybe sets you apart from others that are in your same practice areas?
Yeah, so we are a couple of things. I mean, I won't. Obviously, we have some niche areas within family law, but from a perspective, we understand how important it is for clients to get responses. Like when they ask you a question, they want a quick response, and they want to be able to and it can't just be a quick response like, "Hey, the lawyer's busy, he'll get back to you." So every case that we have, we use a team approach. We have one assigned paralegal, we have one assigned associate attorney, and then we have a partner assigned on every case. So we communicate internally, obviously, and we're always aware of what your case status is. But if you call in and you need somebody, we usually have between those three, you're going to get an answer to your question pretty quickly. And we also make sure that we plan out in advance. We try to give a full timeline of your case to clients early on, just basically saying, hey, we're going to have this meeting, which we call a game planning meeting, within a couple of days of hire, which just basically lets you know, hey, this is what you need to be working on going forward, going into your trial. These are the documents you need to be gathering. Here's a place to upload them. And then we also schedule, even at the early stages, okay, your trial set for this date. We're going to set a trial prep meeting a month out. So that way you can see exactly what evidence we're going to present. We can talk about, debate, hey, do we need to present this evidence? Do we need to subpoena these witnesses? And we do it far enough out so that if we need to issue last minute subpoenas or things like that, we can do that. So clients really appreciate knowing game plan wise what's going to happen. When I know a lot of firms out here are just like, hey, 2 days before trial, let's meet and talk about what we're going to do. So it's just, that makes it tough. So the further you can get ahead of things like that, it's better. And we do that from a team-based approach, and we're all kind of checking and balancing each other to make sure, hey, when's the last time this client's been reached out to, what are the latest updates, that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's excellent. Because these people are dealing with a tremendous amount of uncertainty, and
Yeah.
it's very destabilizing to their life. So having a clear, coherent set of expectations and structure for what's going to happen, I'm sure is very reassuring.
Yeah, and they're paying you a lot of money, so yeah, there's a certain expectation of service they expect from that, which I think as an attorney you're obligated to give people.
Absolutely. In terms of growth for the firm, what stage? So you said you've been doing this since 2006. So what
Yep.
growth stage would you say that you're in right now, and where are you looking to get to in the next 12 months or so?
So we've pretty much added at least an attorney every year for the past 2 or 3 years. So early on, and I actually have a separate course that kind of talks about some of the
Mhm.
trial and errors from me in building my firm, because early on it's slow. You have to kind of learn what works, what are the things that make your practice run more efficient. But basically from our growth stage, we have We're looking to add at least 2 more associates. So we need to get right around 12 attorneys. And that's just based on workload. That's something that kind of goes up and down based on workload. But we've been extremely busy lately based on efforts we've made in marketing, which have been very successful, primarily focusing on organic SEO. We do paid advertising as well, but organic SEO has been the big focus to kind of balance that a bit. So we're looking to continually grow. There's a huge need for family lawyers in our practice and in our area. And we've got, I'm sure my associates would tell you they're swamped. So, we're looking to add at least 2 more in our office space. We've got room for probably about 2 more attorneys. So right around 12, I think will be perfect. And then that would kind of, put it in a situation where we want to make sure that we're able to respond to client needs and accept as many cases as we can. So we just kind of monitor that and grow from there.
Excellent. If you had a hypothetical magic wand to fix any constraint to growth right now, obviously finding the right people, right? So I know that that's part of what you're doing, but would there be anything else that you would say, hey, if I could just wave this wand and fix this right now, that would be a big help?
The biggest problem we have internally is probably just procedure management. And this is I think every firm goes through this. And what it is that we have tons of systems and tons of procedures. And what ends up happening is when you hire new staff, you have kind of like this period of time where they're learning the procedures and it's rough and but then they get to this point where they feel very comfortable with what they're doing day to day, and then they don't necessarily reference those procedures step by step. So when that happens, you run into situations where, hey, maybe this step is not being done, or this step is being skipped just because of somebody, feeling like they're familiar with what's going on in their day-to-day tasks. So I think from a magic wand perspective, I wish there was, like, you've got procedures written down over here, but then you have somebody who's working on those procedures every day. I'd love to see a tighter integration day to day for staff to do that, because that's the biggest thing when adding people is just training, getting them up to speed, and kind of handing them off and making sure you don't have to stand over them all the time. And the more staff you have, the more you have to do that. So I think there's a big window for a tool there that really can kind of help people stay on task and follow procedures step by step versus, hey, let me go to this website and look this up. And I think that's probably going to be some add-on to some practice management software, or we use Slack a lot, some add-on to Slack. I think Slack could be better tuned towards the legal field. But that's probably what I would say. The less micromanaging you have to do, the easier it is to grow and manage more employees.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's actually very in line with something that has come up multiple times. We've helped businesses with that seems to be universal, not just in firms, but pretty much everybody has that. That.
I mean, that's business in general, but it's just like, if you got, it's one thing when you got 2 legal assistants, it's another thing when you got 6, and all of them are making errors, and you're having to police all of them. So that can. Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're trying to handle cases, so that's.
Meanwhile, you're trying to practice law at the same time. Exactly.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you have the course that's designed to help new burgeoning firms kind of get up and running. What is that? Just in case anybody wanted to check that out.
So my course is firmblueprint.law. It's 12 modules covering pretty much every area of practice, of starting a practice, how you get new clients, how you kind of immerse yourself in the community. It's got some psychological elements to it. And basically, we have an executive coach who has a couple modules in there who talks about getting over the fear of not being able to go out on your own, starting your own firm. And then it also has a bunch of tools that you can use as long as you have lifetime access to the course if you sign up. It's got a bunch of tools you can use, such as a firm business plan manager, how to set your initial hourly rate, you can come up with systems and procedures with some of the tools that are in there. So there's a ton of tools that I find to be extremely helpful that I use in my firm. There's a section on AI in there. Hey, how can I leverage AI to complete administrative tasks in my firm when I'm small? How do I know when to hire an employee? So we have a free newsletter. If you sign up, you sign up for the newsletter, and that's just weekly. I give tidbits on a specific subject in firm building. But and then there's also, I think the first 5 modules are free as part of that. But if you sign up, you get the entire course for life, webinars that we do on specific firm building topics. So I'm proud of it, man. It's just one of those things where I learned all these things through trial and error. I think I read one book when I first started out, and that book was helpful, but it was kind of like, hey, let me associate with some people that are doing well, see what they're doing. Let me try that. Oh, that's not working. And then it took me probably 10, I would say at least 10 years to really get to a point where I was like, okay, this is what works for me in my practice. And, I wasted a lot of money getting there. So the purpose
Yes.
of the course primarily is, hey, let me give you the things that work so you don't have to do all these other things that I did that were just, me flushing money down the toilet. So
100%. Yeah, that's fantastic. And then where I always like to wrap is kind of moving down to the personal level, human level. What would you say is your big personal why for, your motivation for what you do every day?
So it's a combination of a couple things. Family law is not an area that I necessarily thought I wanted to do coming out of law school. My background's in computer engineering, so I was thinking something, some mixture of the two fields. But when you start your own firm, you kind of end up on this path where you kind of have to go where the business is, and it kind of led us to family law. And one of my partners really wanted to do that area as well. So, but it is such a rewarding area of law, primarily because you get to do pretty much the whole gamut of practicing law. You get to do depositions, you get to do jury trials in some cases. So we've done a bit of all that. We've argued cases up to the Supreme Court. So it's been rewarding, but most importantly, the cases that I love the most is that you really get to help some people that are in really bad situations. And that can show its face in a couple of ways. One way it can be, a dependent spouse who just doesn't have any hope from a money standpoint. And the other spouse is not helping her out. So that's one of the cases that I always love to do. Domestic violence cases where you've got someone who's a victim of domestic violence and you help them get out of that situation and get financial support. Those are very rewarding. But on the flip side of that, you've got supporting spouses out there who are falsely accused of domestic violence. So you get to assist them. You've got supporting spouses who basically have a spouse who is overreaching as far as what she wants from a support or property standpoint. So it's also rewarding in those situations to help people. So it's a field and it's an area of law where we get to help people in very bad situations, in the worst situations that you can imagine. I mean, I'm married, been married for a long time, and I can't imagine going through what some of our clients go through, and being there and being reliable for them, I think is a big help.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Patrick, what's the best way for people to reach out to you to get some more information for a consult, so on and so forth?
It's our website for my firm is Williams.com. That's B as in boy, ATCH Williams.com. You can schedule consultations there. But the other thing about our website that I think is amazing is that you'll go to a lot of law firm websites and it'll just say, hey, we do family law. Contact us if you have questions. Our website is informative. It has complete breakdowns on equitable distribution. It is designed in a way to help people who are representing themselves. Like if you're looking for help, you go to our website, you find all this information that can help you navigate it by yourself. And then if you get to a point where you're like, hey, you know what? I don't want to do this by myself, then you can hire us. But it's not written from the perspective of gatekeeping or anything like that. We try to be very informative. So yeah, that's batchwilliams.com. You can reach out to us for any family law needs in the North Carolina area.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks so much, Patrick. This was a great interview, great conversation. Really appreciate you coming on today.
No problem. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.